Who's one person, dead or alive, that you would love to sit courtside with?
George Washington. Could you imagine?
Him sitting courtside at a basketball game?
It would be so confusing.
What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Today, I am so excited because I'm joined by social media star, entrepreneur, and host of The Buster Show, Buster Scher. Welcome to the Courtside Club.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We're here in New York. Finally got to meet you in person.
That's right. Yeah, we did a Zoom podcast
Right?
a long time ago.
I feel like your show, The Buster Show, is a sports show.
Yeah, definitely predominantly sports.
Yeah, except for my episode.
Yeah, there are a few here and there. That was one of them.
We talked about cats.
We talked about cats.
Cats
and
animals.
You never know where the conversation's going to go, but it's always going to be organic. Yeah.
I do want to get our Courtside audience familiar with you because I wasn't familiar with you. And then Jay Gill from the NBA told me about your show. We connected. I came on, learned more about your story, and I was like, this is really dope. And you're also so young to be doing all that you're doing. So you've been in this world like 10 years.
Which is crazy.
Now.
Yeah.
But you're 21.
This is true.
Yeah. So
yeah.
How does this start? How did the Buster Show start? What were you doing at 11 that got you to where you are now?
Yeah, so it was first a basketball media company that turned into Hoops Nation, which is now basically autonomous. I have a team that runs it day to day, and I jump in here and there for little things.
Yeah.
But that started on Facebook and then gave me somewhat of a platform to just start experimenting and testing and hosting live streams and doing radio broadcasts, which my high school at the time also had. So I was broadcasting, field hockey, lacrosse, basketball, boys and girls, football, rugby, soccer, basically everything. And the combination of having this Hoops Nation platform that I built up a little bit. And then when I was 17, won best in the country for play-by-play broadcasting, whatever the hell that award means under 18, gave me a little bit of credibility to start doing stuff with, professional sports leagues and things like that, before I turned 18 and get certain internships that allowed me to, network and start to understand how companies in the space work so I could make Hoops Nation more legitimate and, how I wanted to take my personal brand. And the goal was always to angel invest and use my brand.
Stop. How is
push.
Your goal always angel invest when you're not even a teenager yet? How is that something that you even knew about? I've learned about that in my late 20s.
Yeah. So when I was 15 or 16, I would go to these VC events because I would sit in on Columbia graduate classes. Because my uncle had a friend who was a teacher who would allow me to sit in on certain classes. That's how I met Gary Vaynerchuk, and then ended up interning at VaynerMedia when I was 16. And this venture capitalist who taught this Columbia graduate class let me sit in, and then invited me to all of their events. So at 15, 16, 17, 18, I was going into the city I lived in Connecticut at the time, to just talk to these VC folks and hedge fund managers and just learn as much as I possibly could. And it always just sounded fun. It's like betting on your friends, except the upside is 1,000 times higher than sports betting.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn something regardless, whereas that's not necessarily the case in other endeavors.
When did you first, because to do all the things that you're talking about, income has to be coming in. Did you start making money? I mean, most people in high school, they work at Dairy Queen or Abercrombie and Fitch, like me, It's that's a great job to have.
That's great. Yeah.
So, but you're starting your own media company. When did that become an actual thing that you're oh, I'm working now?
I don't think it has even yet, in the sense that I've always did it for fun. And then I started making money, but I started just spending that money on related things all in the same space. And it was always about reinvesting and investing in the people around me and in the companies that I believed in. And, that's always been how it is. I literally do everything that I love. And now in the collectible space, and for the last 3 years since the beginning of COVID, my main focus, it hasn't changed at all. That is, I do what I like. And I encourage everybody to try to figure that out as today, if not yesterday, today, if not today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because, there are infinite ways to build a life around your passions in 2022.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more accessibility to learning how to do those things as well. Obviously, you met Gary V at a young age, which I feel like was probably like a big step for you.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the big players in the space that you're talking about, and especially with investing and collecting. And now you're getting into crypto and NFTs and all of that kind of stuff as well. Who else has been like a mentor to you?
It's a guy named Edward Zimmerman, who's a venture capitalist and lawyer. And then a lot of friends. Like I think the term mentor is funny to me because it makes it sound like it's such a structured relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the best relationships are symbiotic ones where each party is learning something. So most of my friends are over 40. And that's because there's some symbiosis there where I want to learn from their experience and they want to learn, all these random things that I, have specific knowledge about. So, I think those are like the best mentor relationships where it's, it's both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everybody has something that you can learn from.
For sure. I always say that Shaq is one of my mentors. And again, it's not some like structured thing, but every time I see him and, see him often at events and we work together so much, but he always gives me such great advice. And I remember there was even a time in my life that I was going through some stuff personally that he took time out of his day to take me aside and almost like give me a pep talk. And in that moment, I needed that more than anything,
that's awesome.
Business wise, or that kind of advice that he could have given me. So I get what you're saying, because if people ask me like mentor, I'm like, I don't have it in place. Some people say, oh, I worked under this person and they, I read their book and they gave me the blueprint of what to do. But you're kind of pulling from all these different people. It's funny that you say that you're friends with 40-year-olds though, because I feel like a lot of people that are older in this industry probably look to you of like, what's cool, what's going to happen, because the young people on TikTok and on social, they're predicting what the next trend is going to be and what's going to kind of happen in this landscape. Do you feel like you're in the know in that as well, just for the pure sake that you are younger?
By default, the next generation is the generation that will be that in 20 years. So just by virtue of age, sure. But like, I don't, I collect George Washington and Abraham Lincoln documents. Like I don't consider myself, the coolest or like, that type of, TikTok personality, but by default of age, I can understand why somebody would think that. Yeah.
So getting back to the Buster show, you've had some incredible guests. How do you go about reaching out to these people and they agree to come on your show? I mean, how many episodes do you have now? It's been going for a little while.
130, something like that. Yeah.
So how did you get to the point where you're having Jerry West and Tracy McGrady and all of these guys?
Yeah, it's always super organic. I don't try to force anything ever. I don't want anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. So it just comes up in conversation. Tracy had his OBL league and was going on appearances. Somebody whom I consider a mentor through symbiotic relationship, was doing the PR for the league. And they said, Tracy, you got to go on Buster's show. And he was like, great. And we did it.
It was like, cool.
It was a lot of fun. Somebody like Jerry, another friend who I'm in the collecting world with, we go to shows together. He's been representing Jerry on like the autograph signing side for forever, and a ton of guys. So, he was just like, Jerry, you got to go on Buster's show. I don't ask for anybody ever. And I don't really want to either. I don't,
No, I feel the same way. You don't want somebody sitting down who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be so awkward.
Yeah. I'd rather have somebody that I just met on the sidewalk who's like, yeah, that's really cool. And they'll be excited to sit down than like forcing somebody pulling teeth. And it's all
about timing too. Like one person can be awesome one day and like the worst person ever on another day. You got to catch them right. And I think doing it organically pretty much ensures that it's the right time for them in their life.
So you have the Buster show, but I know that you were doing a lot in high school play-by-play color commentary. Do you see yourself wanting to do that more in the NBA space?
Definitely for fun. Definitely for fun. Yeah. On the career side, the goal is to pretty much just be investing and do what I feel is valuable to others and myself on a day-to-day basis. But broadcasting, doing play-by-play is something I love. I do it for the Crew League now, which is a lot of fun. Rappers and their crews playing basketball. We're coming up on season 4. So that's been a lot of fun. And yeah, eventually doing NBA games, that would be great. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Have you done some stuff with the NBA for their games?
Yeah, not on TV though.
Okay.
That is a frontier yet to be had. But
was it Twitch? Or was it?
Yeah, it was like some Twitch or NBA League Pass, some like side stream that nobody watched. Yeah.
So what's funny is years ago when they were developing this idea, I was their test dummy.
Oh, really?
And I did so many games.
That's so fun.
So even did the NBA Finals. I think it was Cleveland and the Warriors, like when LeBron was still finals. There. Yeah. Yeah. So 2016. That one. Yeah. So I was there doing that. And then it's funny because I haven't done any of the when they're actually doing them. So I was just the test dummy in the beginning.
Well, that's fun. Yeah, definitely more opportunities though.
So the Crew League.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
They had reached out to me, this guy, Jordan Stern and Eli Maroon, and they had reached out and pitched me on this concept of rappers, their crews, playing basketball 4-on-4 for $250,000 one weekend on a set in LA. And I thought they were crazy because the idea of getting, 10 plus artists, especially rappers, in the same place at the same time with their crews, forget about it.
Right.
And there are some jokes in season 1, like there was COVID testing, but no security.
Oh my God.
So,
right.
Yeah, it was funny. But, to see the progression from season 1, them actually making it work, and also their ability to pick stars. So they, had Jack Harlow on when he had, less than 1 million followers and one semi-hit song. They had Kid Laroi on when he had a couple 100,000 followers. They had Drewski, who was a much smaller social comedian at the time. They were at 24K Gold, and they were able to pick talent incredibly well over the course of the seasons.
But pick talent for basketball purposes.
Well, entertainment purposes.
Right.
It's a reality show that's sort of disguised as like a real league. But yeah, entertainment purposes, not as much basketball skill.
Who do you think has the best skills?
In all of Crew League history, Chris Brown. Yeah, okay. Chris Brown is good at everything he does.
Yeah.
Like, I heard that before, and then I saw it in him, and he's good at everything. I don't understand it.
That's actually a really good segue into halftime.
Okay.
So on the Courtside Club, we like to take a halftime break, and we do some sort of game. Today's is really fun. So I have your starting 5. I have some topics for you, or some categories, I should say, and you get to pick the starting 5 for each.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's start it off with your starting 5 podcast guests.
Podcast guests that I've had on? Obviously, you're number 1. Then Tracy, McGrady, Jerry West, Harrison Durand, who's a good friend and paleontologist.
Cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. Who else would I put in the top 5? My friend Farouk, who's been on more than anybody else. He's been on 4 or 5 times.
Amazing.
He's the best. Love him. Darren Ravel, who's one of my best friends as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you have him. You have Jerry West. You have me.
Yeah.
Tracy McGrady. Wait, you have 6.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to make room.
I'm coming off the bench in this group.
6 women.
Okay. All right. Starting 5 social media stars. Who you think is killing it right now? Logan
Paul's got to be 1. This is in order or in just your
starting 5?
Lineup?
I mean, you could give them positions if you wanted to take it there, but...
No, I won't take it there.
Okay.
Logan's there. Mr. Beast is there, obviously. I'm going to broaden it out. I'll put Joe Rogan in there.
Okay.
I'll put the Nelk Boys in there. I'll group them into one person.
Yeah.
I'll put Jake Paul in there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So both Paul brothers. You're not lumping them together. They are so different.
No, I'm not lumping them together. Yeah.
Okay.
And I do work with Logan. I don't do work with Jake, so they're definitely,
Cool.
Jake's crushing it though. Like,
yeah.
he is
we were both going to be at the fight, but it got canceled.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, next time. Okay, starting 5 NBA players of all time.
Of all time? Oh. In no specific order by position: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaq.
I'll take it. That's an interesting mix, though. You normally don't have Wilt and Shaq in the same starting five.
LeBron can run point. I mean, Wilt and Shaq are the most dominant players in their eras, respectively, and Jordan's the greatest of all time, and then Kobe and LeBron fall somewhere in there. LeBron can run the point, Kobe would be shooting guard, or maybe Michael would run point, LeBron would be small forward, and then you'd have Shaq as a power forward and Wilt as a center.
Okay.
That would be a great team. I would bet on that team. Yeah, that would be a good team.
Why do you take Jordan over LeBron?
I think it's a combination of impact on the sport, finals success in a shorter time period. If he had played longer, if he hadn't left the sport, he would have won 8 straight. If they brought them back after 98, they would have won 9 straight.
Yeah.
And these are things that I think are blatantly obvious. He also retired younger than
just
came
like
back.
They could have?
No, it would have happened. I mean, he won every year
Okay.
he played seriously in the 90s.
Because most younger people have just, and myself included, I'm like 10 years older than you, but I watched LeBron far more than I've watched
Same
Michael
by the
Jordan.
way. Yeah.
But, and I've talked about it on another show, there was this kind of mystery about Jordan and this kind of mystique to him that LeBron maybe doesn't have. And I don't fault LeBron. I don't think it's anything against LeBron either. It's just like they are so different in the way that the age that LeBron is playing in, and with social media and with all these other things, and with the way that the NBA is, the amount of teams that he has been on just is different. You know what I mean? When you talk about Jordan and Kobe. So
also the mystique around MJ is incredible.
It's crazy.
You know, he doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't do anything.
Right.
He is not on social media. Like people, whenever he steps outside, it's news.
Right.
That's not the case with any other athlete that I can think of in the world.
Yeah.
So I think that says something.
Whenever he does anything, it turns into a meme.
Well, there's a reason why, right?
Like,
people want to see
the
it.
roof is the ceiling.
Yeah, that was funny.
That
UNC.
was so good.
Yeah.
And then there's like the crying meme, and then there's this and
The
that.
ceiling is the roof. Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. That was funny.
Anyway, but no, I was just wondering from your perspective, because
I think a lot of the opinion change in the last 2 years has to do with The Last Dance, which in my opinion was the most impactful sports documentary ever, because it came at a time where there was no sports during COVID, and they pushed up the release. It was just MJ, and the documentary was amazing. So
good.
Yeah.
It also there were so many storylines that even just stemmed from that, because there were all these guys who were in the documentary saying, well, you didn't get this perspective, or this actually happened, or I got a bad edit,
that's what happens when
name
MJ's
names,
the EP.
but, right?
Yeah. Producer makes a decision.
When he opens the iPad and is just laughing.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, moving on, our next starting 5, celebrity basketball players. This could be rappers or...
Yeah, most of the ones that come to mind are they happen to be rappers. J. Cole, who has played overseas a bit. Shaq West, who's played overseas. So I'd put them both in there.
Wait a second. Didn't Shaq West have like a terrible performance in one of his recent celebrity games?
He might have, but I played with him and he was good.
Okay. I think I saw something that
he was fast. Lil Durk is also surprisingly good at basketball too. But Chris Brown, NLE Chop was also great.
Okay, wait, so we're naming off a lot of names of starting 5.
So I'd put those 5: Shaq, J. Cole, Chris Brown, NLE. Who else did I name? I named somebody else. Oh, Lil Durk.
I'll take it. I didn't make this starting 5 either. No, I'm just kidding. Starting 5 podcasts.
There aren't that many good ones. There aren't that many. I'm going to struggle to find 5. But I'd put Rogan in there. I'd put Andrew Schultz in there. I'd put the Nelk guys in there. I'd put Impulsive in there.
We'll send.
Yeah, I don't have any more that I can think of.
Oh my God. It's like we're throwing you lobs. And you're just...
Oh, I'll put you in there. I mean,
Courtside Club. No. You could put the Buster Show in there.
I can't put a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'll slide both them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Time for the second half. Speaking of athletes on social media, are there any athletes that you follow that you think do a really good job?
It's funny because so much of social, like when you look at who the most followed athletes are, it's all the best athletes. It's not like somebody is outstandingly talented at content creating. It's not like Messi, Ronaldo, LeBron, and some, Indian cricket players are the best content creators. They just have the most fans of their sport, and they're the best. So I think there's this a general, misconception for like the top % of athletes and celebrities on social. It's very little how good your content is, and very much, how everything else is.
But is there anybody who you're like, they do a good job?
Does a good job?
Because I feel like, okay, an example that's not sports, like Little Nas.
He's great.
He's hilarious. Great. And that's somebody who is like, he's not doing music at all on his socials, or at least not on TikTok.
Yeah, it's a lot of memes.
Yeah, it's funny, right?
He's funny.
So
he's a unique guy, though. He's got a lot going for him.
For sure. But then you have someone like a Draymond Green, right? Yeah. Who has his podcast, and then he takes those clips, and obviously Draymond's just a very opinionated person. Yeah. So whatever he puts out is just going to be passionate and whatever. So I was just wondering if there are any others who kind of fit into those.
I think the guys that I'm most impressed by are the ones who retired and then built this second career for themselves, like Kendrick Perkins, JJ Redick, guys like that. I've been really impressed, and that's been awesome to see.
Shaq is one of them as well.
Shaq's the best. Shaq's on the face of every ad in North America.
So is it him or is it Snoop Dogg? We've had that debate on the show before as well.
Who's on more?
Who's just ads? Like the top, basically like marketing themselves.
Being marketable.
And because Snoop said that the only person that's higher than him is Shaq, and like that's what he's going for.
I'd agree. I think if I were to really break it down in my head why that is, I think because Shaq is, and this might change with the legalization of weed, but Shaq has been more clean over the last couple decades.
Friendly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Shaq would be a notch above. But in my eyes, it's Snoop and, they're equal.
Yeah. What are you most looking forward to with the NBA season coming up? Is there any teams, any players that you're watching? That's more like on the court, not on their social media.
I'm a big Knicks fan. So we'll see what happens by the time people are watching this, if the Knicks have an additional all-star player or not. But I like the young Knicks guys. Quentin Grimes look great. Emmanuel Quickley look great. RJ always looks great. I buy and own a lot of sports memorabilia and basketball cards. So the prospects that I've invested in, there are certain guys whom I'll be watching very closely. Those are the things that I look for.
So talk about that a little bit. I don't know much about the trading card industry. Sure. I had Pokemon cards when I was a kid.
Hopefully you kept them.
I don't know where they are. It's like Beanie Babies, which mean nothing now, right?
Except for the Princess Diana.
I have that one.
I know too much. There are two variations of the Princess Diana Beanie Baby. One is worth $10,000. One is worth like $50. It's all based on like the type of pellet that was on the inside. Yeah.
It's the purple one, right?
It's
with the little like rose.
Yeah, you have one of two versions.
Okay. so I need to figure out if it's worth $10,000 or $50.
Yeah, basically.
Anyway, okay, so I guess what I'm saying is my collectibles knowledge kind of ends there at Beanie Babies and Pokemon cards.
You're at the perfect time for like 1999 Pokemon cards, which is first edition.
I had Charizard. I remember that was a big one. I know that there's levels to Charizard also.
First edition Shadowless base set, second generation.
Okay. So fill me in on the sports side.
So on the sports side, especially before it has become super popular during COVID, there were people who put, $1,000 into Giannis in his rookie season, where that ballooned into being worth $1 million. Because, literally, and I did this myself, I bought $1 Giannis Prism rookie cards. They were $1, got them graded,
When he was a rookie.
When he was a rookie in
Okay.
2014.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought them not because I thought he was going to be this great player. I was buying a lot of players, and I thought it was funny how his last name stretched around the back of the card.
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, Antetokounmpo, and Contavious Caldwell-Pope for the same reason. But those cards went from being worth $1 to being worth $5,000 each. That's a pretty significant increase on demand of both Giannis and on sports cards at large. They're both factors in terms of that, but yeah, there were real arbitrages back in the day, and even now, or 2019, when people spent $50 buying a Luka Doncic Prism rookie that's now worth a few thousand. These are real opportunities for people who are able to pick out talent like a scout. So it's like picking stocks for the most part.
So you're somebody who pays attention then to draft and to what kids are coming up.
Yeah, it's harder to now because everybody is. So I look at more ancillary things. So whether it be like game worn jerseys from a specific game that I think will have career significance, or tickets from those specific games. Yeah.
Which this is like getting really deep, but it's just impressive to me, I guess, that you have so much going on just in obviously the forward facing things like the broadcast side and your Buster show and Hoops Nation and the Crew League and these separate things. But then at the same time, you're spending so much of your time obviously doing a little bit of research on like what's going on in this scene as well, and kind of investing your money back into this, but then also investing your money into other companies and talking to these 40-year-old mentors here and these lawyers here. So it's impressive that you've been able to do all of this.
Well, it's funny because it's like 90% of my time on a day-to-day basis is researching and making content about collectibles and working out. It's pretty much all I do on a day-to-day basis. And the other stuff is just like, oh, I have to sacrifice 2 days of not doing collectibles to do this?
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
It's more that than anything else. And on the investment front, the great thing about that is it's incredibly passive. It's a decision in time. So like Pop-Up Bagels, the first company I invested in, it's starting in my hometown in Connecticut, and they do on-demand bagels. So they drop a link like it's Supreme on a Tuesday, it sells out, and you go pick up your dozen bagels and like these great schmears on a Saturday. And now they're like spreading across the country, and they just raised a new round, which is exciting. But that was a decision in time, and I help them when I see things, I share things when I see things, I send it to people. But very little time, energy goes into most of those investments, other than when I can help. But that's usually a text, and it's not like a text takes.
It's you being a good decision maker and an informed decision maker.
Yeah, if it works
to
out.
Put it down to the most basic.
Yeah, definitely. And that comes with experience, and like I trust like I mentioned Darren earlier. Darren was the one who introduced me to Pop-Up Bagels, and he invested with me. So it was like, cool. All right, if you trust certain people, then everything gets a lot easier as well.
So for the future, just last thing on the trading cards, where do you see the future of that going into 2022 and beyond? I mean, we're doing so much, even with the NFT space. I'm seeing a lot of even tickets when you go to sporting events, they're turning those into NFTs.
Yeah, I think the future of tickets are as NFTs, not the other way around. Not like tickets being, so it will be, you need an NFT to get into Madison Square Garden to watch a Knicks game. I do think it gets there because there's no reason for, MSG and the companies not to incentivize that. So picture, best way I can describe it, imagine a Drake concert. He sells his front row seats for $1,000. Those resellers sell it for $5,000. If that's the case today, he doesn't get anything. But let's say he sets a 10% royalty on the NFT ticket for the front row. That person goes and resells it on the blockchain. He gets another, let's say it's 20%. He gets another $1,000 every single time it sells. There's no reason for him and Madison Square Garden or whomever it is not to be taking a cut of that. So I think that's inevitable. Trading card space, it's going to go more non-sport, I think. It's already going more vintage now, more superstar focused. I think the top % of like rookie prospecting is going to come down. People who know what I'm talking about will get it. But I think the space for collectibles is very, very bright. And there are tons of companies that didn't exist 10 years ago that are now worth $30 billion, or are raising in the billions, that are directly involved in this. Yeah.
What's the best card you own?
I have some high grade Derek Jeter rookies, some Giannis stuff, some really fun tickets. But my best items, period, I have George Washington acknowledging that he was in debt in his mid-20s. The only other examples in the Smithsonian I have.
Wait, what is it?
It's a handwritten document by Washington. It's a receipt for a bond. So
how do you get that?
I bought it in auction. Yeah. So the context on George.
This is like not my world, but it's so interesting.
Yeah. So George Washington was buying land in his mid-20s before he got more involved in politics, and he bought more land than he could afford. So he had to sell bonds to friends to cover his debts. And what I have is the full receipt of a bond that he was selling a friend for 16 shillings. I don't know how that factors into inflation, but it was a lot of money.
That's so
16.
funny.
And then I have the highest graded Abraham Lincoln signature in the world on a document appointing the Postmaster General. I have Lincoln approving, war movements during the Civil War. Yeah, I love that stuff.
So do you have a room in your house that's like
not in my house?
Keeping?
I couldn't keep that stuff in my house.
Okay, where is it?
In a vault. Yeah.
But it has to be like a certain brightness and stuff, right? Yeah. Because it's so old.
Yeah, it has to be kept.
I'm sorry.
In the dark.
I hope I'm not sounding.
No, you're not at all.
Stupid.
No, not at all. It always pains me to see when people have like original. I like movie posters and things like that too. Original ones that hung outside the theater in like 70s, 80s, 90s of famous movies. Pains me when people keep them in a room with windows, because in 10 years they're not going to exist.
Right.
Yeah. So like things like that applies to the historical documents
too. So interesting.
Too. Yeah. It's crazy. If I hold the Lincoln document that I have up to the light, the seal, you can still see the red in it from the seal stamp.
Yeah. But you don't do that often because you
don't. But what's crazy about that one is, it was appointing the Postmaster General. And at the time, people don't realize that now, but that was a very important job when you don't have emails and texts. It's like being the head of text messages or the head of the internet today. It's
like they're the one who makes sure that the messages get
to anyone from every important person in the world. Yeah, there was no Venmo. That's how money was gotten from place to place. So
are you going to sell them?
The goal is to never sell anything and open a museum one day.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
That's one of my goals. Yeah. I want people to have access to it. And I want to build a, collection of everything that I'm passionate about, dinosaur fossils, everything, and just own it all. Yeah.
The Buster Museum.
Yeah, it would be great.
That's so cool.
One day. But I also make content with this stuff too. And like that's, become a big part of my brand. So yeah,
I love that. Well, I love that on your podcast, we were going to talk about basketball and it turned into us talking about animals the whole time. And then on mine, I thought we were going to talk about basketball and social media, and we talk about Abraham Lincoln's like stamp of approval and signature. Yeah. Well, I'm into it.
The best thing is always to talk to the people about what they're passionate about, because that's how you get the best out of them. So that's why we talked about cats and Abraham Lincoln. Sounds like we're doing pretty good.
I'm going to bring it back to the Courtside Club with some buzzer beaters for you to end the game.
Let's do it.
Break down your ideal courtside fit.
Comfort first.
Okay.
100%. So I'm going, sweatpants or basketball shorts. Basically what I wear now is what I wear all the time to basically anything, unless they tell me I'm not allowed in, unless I wear something else.
There's not really a dress code in arenas.
No, if you're going naked though, they would like.
No, didn't Lizzo wear something that she like kind of got or was gonna get kicked out or something?
You can't kick Lizzo out though.
No, but
she's too famous.
True, but do you not remember what I'm talking about?
I believe you.
I think it was something like very sheer. It was, but people were complaining. They're like, "This is a family event."
Who cares?
I don't know. Anyway, it was in LA,
I believe that though. I'm sure there have been less famous people. Like if that wasn't Lizzo, I would probably have a problem with it.
Right.
But like I know
Lizzo,
I know who she is.
Go for it, girl.
Yeah, exactly. But if it was like a random woman or guy, I'd be like, oh.
Honestly, the craziest outfits or lack of outfits I've seen in basketball situations are at the Drew League.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever been.
I haven't been, but I've watched games.
Yeah,
I watched when LeBron was in it recently.
Yeah, I feel like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago when I went, there were girls there in like swimsuits. It was interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Anyway,
Makes sense.
Who's one person, dead or alive, that you would love to sit courtside with?
George Washington. Could you imagine?
Him sitting courtside at a basketball game?
It would be so confusing.
You would, yeah. Did they even have sports back then? Or did they have like...
Not in... Sort of. There
was no basketball for sure.
There were things,
right?
But it wasn't what we know today as these sports.
Yeah.
George Washington didn't know dinosaurs existed. That was a fun fact I uncovered. Yeah.
Just because they didn't have the.
They hadn't
looked
found dinosaur fossils, but assumed that they were more recent mammals. And then after he died, they were. Proclaimed these like ancient mammal beasts. Yeah, you're
taking me down a history rabbit hole, and I'm gonna sound real dumb real quick. It was like the one subject in school straight A's my whole life, be in history. I swear.
Really?
Yeah.
I was an F in everything. So.
All right. Last question. What is one event in history? It could be a sporting event or other that you would have loved to have been courtside for.
Event in history?
Yeah.
July 4th, 1776. Come on. What are we joking? I mean, it's one of those things we have no record of. Like, I don't need to be at events of recent time where there's high quality video of. I want to be at the stuff where we don't even know what these guys sounded like.
True.
There's no voice recording. There's no photos.
True.
And we celebrate it every year. There are only, 7 holidays? And that's one of them.
Right.
And the others are all religion.
You want to see what was actually going on. What were these people talking about?
Were they joking? Were they like when they wrote the Constitution, were they like, these suckers?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then 300 years later, they're people who dedicate their life to defending it. Yeah.
That's so funny. Actually, I've never thought about it like that. I've had answers across the board. People want to be there when we're landing on the moon.
We're on the moon?
Well, sure.
Here.
Yeah, they want to be on the moon. They
cool
want to watch that happen.
I think we'll all get that opportunity within the next 40 years.
Maybe. Or if we want to. Yeah. But yeah, I've had answers across the board, but I've never thought about that, going way back. I actually want to see what the world was like before we were here. How green could you imagine how green it would be?
It all looked like Central Park.
I think even better. It has to be better.
Probably. Yeah, you would get shot, though, pretty fast with the Native Americans that were occupying the land.
No, before people.
Oh, before people?
Yeah.
Well, then you would get eaten.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't last very long.
Neither of us would. Actually, if it was in 1776, I'd like to be around 100 million years ago. Okay. But with a defense bubble. Or an army or something.
Yeah, I just want to see it. Or you know how you float in Minecraft? Like that. It can just float and look.
Floating.
In Minecraft.
I know flying on creative.
That is what I mean, basically. But you know how you can just float and kind of look around. Yeah. Anyway, this is going down a weird rabbit hole. Buster, before I let you go, let everybody know where they can find you and what to look out for next.
Find me at Buster most places and look out for whatever. I don't know, you have to look out for anything. Thank you for having me.
Look out for the museum coming soon. I'm going to stay on the lookout for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's up, guys? It's Rachel DeMita. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Courtside Club. Make sure that you like, rate, and subscribe to ESPN's YouTube channel and wherever you listen to your podcast. We have new episodes coming to you guys every single week, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you soon.